Hello my friends, in today's video we will take a look at Viltrox AF35mm F1.8 FE for Sony E-mount. Viltrox has been making E-mount lenses for some time and now they are becoming a well-established manufacturer of budget-friendly E-mount lenses. 35mm F1.8 is a very popular type of lens, so it is great that the E-mount users have a lot of options in this category. In this video, we will take a look at the performance of this lens with Sony A7R4 and A7IV, and I will try to help you decide whether you should consider getting one. 35mm is one of the most versatile and neutral focal lengths. It offers a good balance between wide-ish field of view and emphasis on the subject. It is useful for anything from landscapes and cities to environmental portraits and even product photography. It is also the most popular focal length for street photography and reportage. Viltrox 35mm F1.8 is a fairly compact lens, but not the smallest 35mm F1.8 out there. It weighs 340 grams and it is 88mm long. It does offer some compensation for that, as I will explain later. It is also the same size and weight as 50mm and 24mm f1.8, which is very convenient for gimbal use. Mounted on any Sony full-frame camera, it is very well balanced, so that is not an issue. The build quality is very good. The outer construction is completely metal, including the focusing ring. It feels very solid, I would even say premium, especially at this price point. The mount is metal as well, of course. As you can see, there is also a USB-C port for firmware updates, which is very convenient. It has some degree of weather sealing, which is very nice at this price point, but unfortunately there is no gasket around the mount. It has a 55mm filter thread, which is not the most common size, but it is the same as with 50 and 24mm Viltrox f1.8. This lens comes with a basic plastic lens hood, which will get the job done, so no complaints here. Much like other Viltrox AF lenses, it also comes with a protective pouch, which is useful for storage and transportation. Regarding the control elements, there is the focusing ring and aperture ring. The focusing ring is sufficiently large. It is a focus-by-wire system, so it is completely smooth, but it has a very reasonable amount of resistance. Manual focusing with this lens is pretty good for focus-by-wire system, so I was able to do some focus pulling with no issues. The aperture ring is smooth, so it has no clicks. I would prefer operation with clicks like on APS-C 13mm f1.4, but it has sufficient resistance and it is kind of hidden, so I haven't experienced any accidental aperture changes yet. If you don't want to use it, you can set it to A position and change the aperture in camera. So how about the optical qualities? I have tested this lens with a 61MP sensor in Sony A7R4A. This sensor is very demanding when it comes to the optical qualities of the lenses. The central sharpness or the resolution is very solid right from f1.8, but the contrast is a little bit weak. f2 is a little bit better. f2.8 looks very good with plenty of resolution and good contrast. The overall image quality is excellent from f4 to f11. There are no signs of diffraction at f11, which is great. The corner sharpness at f1.8 is again solid, but there is a room for improvement in terms of the contrast. The chromatic aberration is also fairly low for this type of lens. f2 and f2.8 are again a bit better and completely usable in the real world. You will get very good image quality at f4 and excellent image quality at f5.6. The image quality at f8 is basically perfect. Again, there is no diffraction at all at f11, so that is completely fine to use. Overall, the image quality that you can get with this lens is very solid, especially within the price category. If you intend to use this lens with a lower resolution sensor, such as 33 or 24 megapixels, you will reach the maximal sharpness on wider apertures. The images exhibit a moderate amount of distortion. There is a Lightroom profile for this lens, which is great and it will get rid of the vignetting, but it slightly decreases the image quality in the corners. The real-world images are in my opinion very nice. f1.8 is more than usable for subject separation, and from f4 you will generally get great image quality across the frame. The overall rendition is very nice with accurate colors, so I don't have any complaints. The minimum focus distance is 40 cm, which translates to 0.1 times magnification. That is not a good value and a weakness of this lens. It just isn't particularly suitable for close-up work. The image quality at the minimum focus distance is very good though. On the other hand, I like the bokeh a lot. It has 9 aperture blades and the smoothness of the bokeh seems to be above average for this type of lens. At f1.8 on full frame you can get a lot of subject separation even at this relatively wide angle. If you are looking for this kind of look, 35mm Viltrox is pretty suitable. The autofocus with this lens is basically as good as with the latest Sony lenses. In stills mode it is very fast, 100% accurate and there is absolutely no hunting. In video it is the same thing and it can also be very smooth or very fast depending on your in-camera settings. Sony A7IV has a great autofocus system which largely contributes to this result, but overall huge thumbs up for the autofocus system. The autofocus motor is not completely silent. It definitely isn't distractingly loud, but it may be captured by an in-camera microphone. Shotgun microphones should be fine depending on the sensitivity. The amount of focus breathing is very low. That is probably one of the benefits of the slightly larger size of this lens. That makes it very suitable for filmmaking and focus pulling. 35mm F1.8 is naturally not optically stabilized. Fortunately, in-body image stabilization in both A7R4 and A7IV is more than sufficient at 35mm focal length. That is especially important on A7R4 because with this kind of resolution you will see any imperfection. It also works well for video. Slightly higher weight of this lens makes the balance and the stability of the whole combination better. To sum up, Viltrox AF 35mm F1.8 FE is a very solid budget-friendly prime lens. 35mm F1.8 is a fairly versatile type of lens and a worthy addition to the lens kit of most users. Optically it is very decent. I wouldn't hesitate to use it even on a 61MP A7R4. F1.8 is more than sufficient for blurring the background and you will get excellent image quality across the frame from F4. The build quality is definitely above average, especially at this price point. The autofocus works just as well as with the latest first-party Sony lenses. I also appreciate the aperture ring despite that it has no clicks. The disadvantages are the minimum focus distance, the lack of weather sealing gasket around the mount, and not completely silent autofocus. Other than that, I can't really complain about anything, especially at this price point. It is a valid contender for those who are looking for a budget-friendly 35mm f1.8 for Sony E-mount. So that's it for today's video, thank you for watching, I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section and see you next time.